Well, good morning, podcast community. If you could have been in the green room, you would have had some fun because we had what do you call your signals on the wrong page. We were doing back-to-back mindset podcasts, and so well, anyway, let's get on with the podcast. So I want you guys, for anybody that hasn't listened, so Joanie, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then Eric will be next.
All right. My name is Joanie Chamberland, and I am the owner and head instructor of Rise Up Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So I teach people how to defend themselves and honestly just generally feel better about themselves, learn confidence, learn that they can do a lot more that they think they can handle.
Woo! If you could have been on the 8 o'clock podcast, you guys would have geeked out on what he had to say because it was just music to my ear. So, Eric, unfortunately, we're revising our templates. We can't see your name because you're down on the bottom here. Maybe I can switch this thing around. But tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve. There
Yeah,
we go.
there we go. So, I'm Eric Watson. I'm a financial professional with Consolidated Planning. We work with businesses, individuals from a financial standpoint. There's a lot we can do in that umbrella with investments, insurances. Outside of that, to help kids with basketball. So, a former professional basketball player. So, I still love helping and coaching up the young ones. So, love pouring into the youth.
That's a beautiful thing because if we don't pour into our youth, they don't grow up to be strong adults. So, well, let's go off of that. So, tell me, you first, Eric, since we will reverse the order. What does it mean to you to pour back into the youth and help them to really discover a mindset? Because for those that have listened to your podcast before, you made it to the professional ranks, traveled the world for playing professional basketball. You have to have a right mindset and discipline and work ethic. What do you try to do in helping kids get a better mindset? What can you share with our viewers that will be helpful?
Yeah, sure. So, great question. The biggest thing is trying to build confidence. Because in that road of sports, there's going to be a lot of negativity. You can't do this, or just a lot of just the negativity that comes along with it. You're going to have a variety of different coaches. You're going to come across teammates, and when I'm coaching kids, I'm telling them, hey, it's life. Like there's always going to be something. So when I'm pouring back into them, I love to try and build up that confidence. So when they do encounter those situations, they have that inner confidence and they know that hey, I can do this, and they have to be their own best cheerleader. So trying to prepare them for those moments when life throws curveballs, that they've had legit experiences where they know that they can overcome things. So that's my biggest thing, trying to teach them how to do things, the discipline, routines, the power of having a routine and being disciplined, and then also that belief of hey, no matter what anybody else says or whatever the circumstances are, you're going to find a way to get where it is and ultimately what it is you want to do. So,
Awesome. I love that. Joanne, share with our viewers, there's a lot of distractions out there with youth. I mean, you got cell phones, they're on their cell phone a lot. And we're in the digital, what we call dementia. There's so much coming at us. How do you help your students stay focused and really eliminate as much of the distractions that are out there?
Well, I mean, in jiu-jitsu, for sure, they can't bring their phones out with them, right? Um, so there's that aspect of just their focus. They have to be in there for the hour that they're with me. And so I just try to focus on just making sure that they're aware of repetition is very important.
Hmm.
And so whenever they come in, at my gym, we focus on doing um, 10 reps of the move instead of like you do one, I do one, you do it, like switching back and forth because then you stop paying attention to that thing that you're doing, right? You're doing it, then you stop. They're doing it, then they stop. Then you're doing it, and you stop. And so I actually read a book a while ago called The Talent Code, and it talks about the importance of deep practice. So I've gotten my students working on, they do the move 10 times in a row, and then their partner does the move 10 times in a row, so that they can get that deeper practice instead of being distracted every time, like, whose turn is it? And so, another goal is I tell them, like, think about what you're doing. So if you're doing the move and you're drilling and you mess it up, think about what you messed up, why you messed it up, how to fix it, and then do the move again to try to really have that groove into their brain, right? Because they talk about, you have those, like, literally like waves in your mind, those grooves that get, you know, those pathways get carved in your mind, and then they fire better. And so instead of just trying to really grow that one, so the focus is on what's called deep practice, to do it multiple times instead of just two each, one each. So that's kind of the way that I try to deal with helping for further on, because yeah, there's no phones, so there's, I don't have to worry about that distraction. And then as they get more advanced, the advanced kids bring in a journal, and so I have them ask questions on the moves, and they have to bring a journal with them to write it down, so that it solidifies it even more, because now they're handwriting it, and however it's going to click in their brain, and then they're doing those moves, and then afterwards I'm like, do you want to write anything else after trying it out? So it's kind of the way I'm trying to combat that.
I love that. I mean, I heard it presented just like that, but a different twist. And TikTok is 30% of the information that our kids are getting when it comes to everything. And it's short form video. So we're getting dopamine hits on short thinking. We're not deep thinking. We're not training our brains to be a thinker instead of just a short, a video of 30 seconds. Then you're going to another video, another video, another. So you're conditioning your brain to think in short spans of thinking, which is not what you want. This brain is to think. So I love
Yep.
that you deep train in that. And I think for our viewers, I always like to be able to, nope, that doesn't work. There we go. So, yeah, I want our viewers to take home that thought is batching time, batching training, getting your brain to condition to longer thoughts. Because if we don't tackle that mindset of short, all this stuff that's going at us, you're just conditioning your brain the wrong way. So, Eric, what would you say, like, when it comes to your conditioning, is there anything? I mean, I know you're not competing like you used to compete, but how are you kind of communicating to kids and teaching those kids? Give us an idea of that mindset that you're taking them through, so our viewers can get a better understanding of your type of training.
You're what do you mean? You talking about like my confidence?
Like you said, habits, like you said, you're basically putting them into the frame, because for you to get to the highest level of playing professional sports, you had to always create the mindset of discipline and everything to get there. How are you, like, training your kids? I mean, you touched on a little bit of it, but when you go into practice, what's your objective that you want your kids to take home that particular practice to get better?
Oh yeah, so I'm very very big on focus. So it's I feel like it's building blocks. So start from a discipline aspect. Like we going into a game, it's hey, I want your shoes on. Like when the fourth quarter starts with the game before us, shoes on. We back in the locker room. Not all right. Hey, we just now starting to get ready. So planting those seeds. So when it comes to a practice aspect, as far as like just the discipline and that mindset it takes.
I love that. Yeah, a friend of mine who's a high school
Hey, like I'll
counselor.
give them a quote at the beginning of practice, and you got to memorize the quote. And we say what now?
Uh,
Oops, we're losing a little bit of your audio. You froze for a second, and then I
Okay,
jumped in, but
can
you
you
were
hear me
still
now?
continuing your thought. Okay. Yeah, you're coming through good now. So
Okay, cool,
you
cool.
you
Yeah,
you
so
get them to focus and prepare.
We keep
Oops.
losing
yeah,
you, Eric.
definitely
Yeah, we
focus and
lose you.
preparation. So yeah, I keep circling in and out, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure if that's
something's.
mine. I'm at the office. I don't know if it's a connection.
Yeah, it's got to be your reception, but that's okay. Why don't we? I'll go back to Joanie just so we can
Okay.
give our viewers audio because occasionally it just that's the way it works. I don't know whether you have AT&T or Verizon or Comcast, whatever it is. It's not always flowing. So I want to go back to you, Joanie. Share with our viewers like do you get joy like when the light bulb goes off with your students? What does that mean to you when because you're teaching, and do you all of a sudden see different people? All of a sudden it clicks. So describe that journey for our viewers.
Very much so. So, I just to preface this, I am not somebody who is like naturally gifted at jujitsu. I didn't just like show up and like understand it, right? I'm not one of the, my body did not work that way. Now that I'm a black belt and I've been training for 16 years, it's a different story, right? Like, because my body just understands jujitsu now. So I say like there's a I, jujitsu is not one of those martial arts where you just train and get a belt every few months like taekwondo. It's it takes about a year to get a belt for any age group, and then for like the little kids they get a new belt every year, because the first belt is a blue belt and you can't get it till you're 16. So the kids have like ranks in between that. So it takes about a year for them. The adults it takes a year to get to blue, and then it's like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So and it's based on your journey. So just because you start does not mean you get a belt in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So some kids it takes them like I had some kids it takes a year, and I've had some kids it takes 2 years to get their first belt. And those are the ones that when you see, especially the ones that they're there because they want to do jujitsu, if they come in because their parents want them to do it, sometimes you don't really get to see that click for those kids that it would take 2 years, right? And so the ones that are there because they want to be, I had a student named Lucas, and he just wasn't getting it. His mom was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Jiu-jitsu's hard. It's so you have to know which part of your body to move when while you're moving another part while someone else is attacking you. Like there's a lot going on." And so it took Lucas. He was my first one. It took him 2 years to get his first belt. Um, and then he was ready for his other belt. Like I mean, I could have given it to him before a year, but I followed the rules on that. But he was just killing it after that, right? And so watching him go from like, man, it just wasn't quite making sense. Like he was trying so hard, but he just was missing it just a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
then once he got that next rank, he was just doop, 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 and his love for the sport grew already, just that, right? And then you could tell that he was finally like, oh, I'm really understanding something that's difficult. Because you're good at something that everyone's good at that's super easy, right? Like you're just like, oh, I'm good at walking. Like everybody walks every day, right? For the most part, right? We have people that have to learn how to get there, and that's this incredible feat because why? It was so hard to do that thing or something they were told they would never be able to do. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're just an ordinary person who just takes that for granted and walks every day, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can walk, right? So same thing with jujitsu when it's been so difficult, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, like I finally did this thing that's super difficult. Most people don't ever do, or I could never figure out. So it's a really cool moment to see them, one, their love for jujitsu grow because I have a spot in my heart for jujitsu, right? But seeing that in themselves, like, wow, I stuck around long enough to make this thing I wanted to do that's very difficult actually happen is a very beautiful moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is the same thing for adults. It's the same thing for anybody that comes in, not just the kids, but it's just seeing them go, oh, I can do this thing I thought I could never do, right? And that's kind of my goal in general in jiu-jitsu, is getting people to do these things that they think they can't. And it's like, yes, you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think it was last week or the week before when Crystal was on. She gave an analogy, which I've told at least 50 times, maybe more, that bamboo grows 10
Yeah.
feet. I mean, it grows 10 feet before it goes 10 years before it breaks ground. Then it can grow up to 3 feet a day. And it's almost like, for our viewers, I do the Echo Effect, which is a podcast on that very topic, delayed gratification. And, you got to put in the hard work. And so, like you're saying, all of a sudden with Luke, was it Luke you were sharing?
Lucas, yeah.
Lucas. I mean, all of a sudden he's just missing it. Like he's building that foundation, and then all of a sudden everything comes together. But if he's to quit after 1 year, he's never going to break ground and be able to build on that. It'll just, so you have to have that delayed gratification thought process, because if you don't, a lot of people don't make it that last inch, which is the difference between a breakthrough and somebody that quits. So let's see if Eric is back. Eric, we're going to test your audio, because I can't. When I see you there, I'm going, I got to go back to Eric. Okay. So I want you to describe your journey for our viewers that haven't heard. You finish a college career, which is a stellar college career. You're going on to the professional ranks, because you told me a little bit about the Iceland to, I don't know if it was Brazil, Romania, but there was a lot of setbacks in that journey of going, because you're in different cultures, you're different, completely different, what do you call it, an environment. How did you handle the disappointments? Because you had achieved a very high level in college. Now you're on to a whole different mind of challenges. Take our viewers through maybe one example of, like, either when you're in Iceland or Brazil or Romania, whatever. But I want our viewers to capture that thing about, hey, look, we never know what gets thrown at us. We just have to figure it out. Could you share with our viewers maybe that something there that could help them?
Oh, yeah. So, interesting story about being in Romania. So, when I was playing, I remember one of my first games out there, talking about just setbacks and have to figure it out. So, we were playing, and game was intense. We're going back and forth, and, I'm definitely hustling. And there's a loose ball, and I go and I dive on the floor. And so my hand just like scrapes, just feel like it gets like a little slight layer, and I'm like, all right, well that's a little bit different. Well, of course, like 2 plays later, it happens again. Literally, is like open. So that's definitely a setback. It's my shooting hand and everything else. And so what needs to happen is, like, I literally have to wrap my open hand up with a band with the bandage, and it's like, hey, well, you're out here, you're halfway across the world, you got to make it happen. And so it's like, hey, well, you put in the work, and you're here now, so you got to make the best of a situation. So here I am playing with a bandaged hand, wide open, like so it's, I guess, paint, not trying to be graphic, but it was like an open blister with the whole palm of your hand. And so having to just figure it out and just keep playing. So suck up the pain and just keep going. So, but yeah, you just gotta, how bad do you want it, and then just trust your instincts and all the work you put into it. So
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, when I was at the Special Forces Transition Foundation, that was the theme of talking to these special forces who are making that transition. Is there's no playbook to life. Life throws curveballs, throws different situations, throws everything you can imagine. And if you're going to get to the next level, you got to figure it out. I mean, it's not like you can say, well, let me grow back my hand and get that thing healthy. It's like, hey, it's during the game. You just got to figure it out, wrap it up, and shoot with your other hand, or go to the hoop with a different hand that It can give you whatever you need to do to score. I love that. So I want as we close down, because we got a little bit later, and I know you guys got busy schedules, so I want to be very respectful of that. So, Joanie, what would you want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast? One lesson that they can take to the streets.
I would say definitely, because we've been actually talking a lot about the mindset of achievement. And I would say that even the mindset of achievement takes time to acquire. You don't just like wake up and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna achieve these things. I'm gonna have, delayed gratification. If you think that, you're not gonna have it. It's because as soon as something happens to change that mindset, you're gonna be like, oh, well, this isn't for me. And it's for everyone. It just takes time to get there. You have to make sure you start low. Your winning mindset is, okay, today I only did this one time. And then, the next day is like, oh, we did it 2 times, right? Oh, we were in it for this amount of time. And just know some days it's harder to get in that mindset than other days. It's not like you just wake up and you're perfect at this mindset. So if you want to get there, you have to have the mindset of getting there, right? So that's what I would say is small steps at a time.
Ooh, I love that. You dropped a gold nugget on us. I love that. So, Eric, same question. What would you want our viewers to take home from our time on the podcast?
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, just delayed gratification, and you have to be willing to just stick with the process, because when you put in the work for something and understand that delayed gratification does happen, because time and time again, I've seen it with kids to where like those kids that get like a quick start, they just naturally grasp onto this skill. It's okay, cool. But then the ones that maybe struggled in the beginning, but they keep working, and they mess around and they come back against that kid that blew them out the first time, or like really got the best of them, when they see that they're kind of on their level, now that kid that had to work harder, they get excited. They're like, oh my God, now they finally realize all the work that they had. And then on the flip side, that kid that it came easy, that's probably the first time they had adversity. And I've seen so many times where they freak out because it's like, wait a minute, I used to be so much better than this kid. Why are they doing what? And I've seen the meltdowns happen on that side. And then I've seen that delayed gratification to where once this kid now sees that they're on that level, they're like, oh, wow, all this work has been paying off. Now let me go even harder. So that's the cool thing about working with the kids. And I see that all the time. So delayed gratification and trust the process.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm not organized enough to get to both of y'all's contact information. So go to podcasterpkane.com. You'll be able to click on the link for Spotify, and then just search their name, and that'll come up, and you'll be able to get to the episode. And if you want to get a hold of them, you call me. I'll connect you up with both of them. So thank you guys so much for adapting to a new way we were doing it, and we'll keep getting better each day, so our viewers are able to get more of you guys and be able to benefit. So thank you so much for being on the podcast this morning. Have a wonderful day for our viewers and for you too, guys and gals.
Thank you.
All right. See y'all. Yeah, be good.
See ya.
All right.